Good evening to the entire She Speaks family. We're so excited to come to you again here on Mondays live at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're excited to bring you amazing content, progressive stories, inspiration, whatever it is that you need on your journey. And of course, tonight on She Speaks, we're excited to shout out to our sponsors, True Blue PR. We're shouting out seventhwonder.com. Definitely go and check out those two amazing businesses. They are the power behind them and the magic behind. Also, Caribbean Life TV, CLTV for all of your studio production needs in the ATL, covering the entire Caribbean community. And so tonight, I'm excited to have on the line with us, live and remote from Tampa Bay, this beautiful woman. Her name is Anji Degante. She's going to come to us tonight. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening in Africa, and I feel like it's so vital that we understand, we look for ways to get involved and engaged. Hence the topic tonight is the progression of Africa. And so without further ado, the queen herself, Miss Anji Degante, how are you this evening, beautiful?
I am wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Well, we're really excited to have you here at SheSpeaksTV to really just talk and walk us through the progression that is taking place in Africa. I literally have it on my vision board, and I was on the phone with Nelson Mandela's grandson, and we were talking about entrepreneurship about 2 weeks ago in Africa. And then, of course, I had another conversation with a gentleman out of Ghana who was just talking about, the need to return. And so I've been reading your bio. I see that you have done so much, and you spend about 6 months out of the year in Africa. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Angie. Where are you from, and what made you fall in love with Africa?
So I am a Tampa native, born and raised. I happened to go to Kenya for holiday, and everything inside of me, I feel like, woke up. I felt like I found my passion. I feel like I found happiness. I felt complete. Um, I felt independence. I feel like I stepped into every single thing that I was supposed to be while I was on vacation. Um, I fell in love so much with the country that while I was there on vacation, I decided not to come back home.
Oh, talk about a bold leap move. Any family behind? Did people think you were crazy? I mean, what was it that made you say, I gotta stay?
I think the culture. So I had been traveling to several countries. I had been to Paris, Turkey, Santorini, Japan. I had been to all of these places, and I felt like every place that I went, they would teach me their language or share their culture. But there was always a reminder like, you are American, I am French, or you are American and I am Turkish. But while I was in Kenya, I feel like they gave me their culture. The direct translation while I was there is, this is the daughter of our ancestors, and now she's come home. And so I
Wow.
felt like I was home. Um, while I was there visiting a village, they did my like rites of passage. They taught me how to cut firewood and fetch water and how to my waist beads on. And so I feel like they gave me a part of me that was missing from me, that was missing from my ancestors, and it allowed me to reconnect. And so absolutely loved it there.
Wow.
Did not.
So with tell us about this amazing ideal that you decided to bring in terms of becoming an entrepreneur, building businesses that are inspired by your return home, if you will, to Kenya. What inspired you to do such?
I think what inspired me to do so much is that I felt like I as a melanated person wanted to do more for what I considered home than anyone else. I feel like a lot of times we see other people go and they donate food and they build schools and they build churches, but I didn't get to see anyone that fully represented the Black American community as much as I wanted to see doing what they needed to do in Kenya. And so everyone there is a hustler. So while you're there, you learn to hustle. Literally, everyone works for themselves just about. And so it was
Wow.
instilled in me like, hey, I don't have to necessarily find a job while I'm here. I can create one. And that is exactly what I did.
Wow. So talk to me about your priorities, because you're balancing two different countries now. You're traveling to and fro. You're really making an impact, which is so powerful. And I always tell people you want to live a life of sheer significance, right? But how have your priorities changed from when you first started on this journey?
My priorities when I first started on this journey was I don't want to say selfish, but it was a single motive like, what can I do for home? And so
Mhm.
now the priorities are, what can we collectively do for home? So building the bridge for Black Americans to return equipped. And so I do twice a year where people are able to return home. They're able to submerge themselves in the language. They're able to help me build the school. They're able to visit the orphanage that I've built. They're able to offer their resources, whether it's math tutoring or English tutoring. And so my priorities now are to make sure that as African Americans, we come home and we do it what I consider the right way. Um,
You got me
so I know
excited about that because I was going to say, you got me excited about that because I have been hearing, obviously, since the pandemic, since the era of George Floyd, obviously, I've been hearing for years. And one of my dearest friends is from Ghana. Well, she's married to a man from Ghana and lives here in Atlanta. And she keeps saying, we really got to go back. We really need to return home. And I've been hearing it, and it's resonating so heavy in my spirit to make that happen. And so I would love to just connect with you because people, they hear about it, then you get scared. We don't know what the heck we're scared of, but we get scared, and then it's like leave the place that you've been brainwashed, to reconcile with, as you said, with your ancestors. So knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently when you were first starting out? Because
first, I'd
I
like to
want to
say,
learn
like,
everything you learned.
so I'm like, first to start off, I'd like to say, like, since you're excited, I'm like, Nakuja Nukumbani, which is home. Like,
Not,
please come home. Um,
yes.
and so the thing that I think I would have done differently is I would have
Mhm.
gone home sooner. I definitely would have done that. Even though I went and I was fairly young, I was 21
Okay.
when I returned home. But I think I would have done
Mhm.
it sooner than that, in all honesty. And I'd like to say, like, the things that you're afraid of are probably things that a lot of people are afraid of, and it's so
Mhm.
developed. We have Uber Eats, we have Uber, we have
Oh,
Lyft,
okay,
we
we
have
good.
Starbucks, we have I know in the US we call it Black owned, but in Kenya they call it Kenyan owned. And so we
Gotcha.
have Kenyan owned restaurants and Kenyan owned cafes and cybers. I honestly think the only thing you'd miss is like strong Wi-Fi, but outside of that, like, it has everything you need. Uh, Africa as a whole, right, is
Mhm.
the exporter of everything and the importer of nothing. And so she has everything that
Mm.
we need.
Wow. The exporter of everything and the importer of nothing. That is powerful. So you're telling me that nothing comes from China, nothing comes from Europe, everything goes out?
So, right, I would say everything definitely goes out. There's probably a very small percentage of things that come in. And the crazy thing about it is the things that come in are for them to rebuild and send back out.
Wow. Talk about recycling. Making sure
Yes.
that you're
So
using, yes.
So we literally have connections with China. China and Africa are officially friends. Um,
Okay.
and so they import many things at a lower rate. And so they use the labor there because the people there are very innovative. They're
Mhm.
skilled with their hands. And so they build the phone cases, they build the cell phones, and then they send them back to sell. Um,
Wow.
and so, yeah, I think it's a very low import rate. I don't even think the things that we import are necessities. It's things like gummy bears or Twix, things that we don't
Oh,
need.
wow.
Um,
Right, right,
They aren't
right.
things that
So,
necessarily build our infant structure.
which is really a big deal right now in terms of establishing infrastructure. I see it all through South Africa. I've had a lot of conversations, especially on the entrepreneur side, and looking for programs that are more holistic, which was my more recent conversation. How did you decide where you wanted to establish your company?
So I decided because I had a lot of friends that were young, like they were my peers. And so they were from many, many different tribes. And so out of the 43 tribes, I have visited and lived with 36 of them. And so as
Wow.
I became more acquainted with the country, it kind of resonated where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be in the center of the city, which feels like New York, because if I wanted New
Mm,
York, I could go to New York. I wanted a
right.
place where it felt very traditional, but if I wanted to get to the city, it was still like within arm's reach. And so, um, for anyone that's tuning in Tampa, I chose Wesley Chapel, right? And so it was the
Oh, wow.
Wesley Chapel of Kenya. It was like on the outskirts of the city, about 10 minutes from the city, but a little further out, definitely affordable. You could have like peace and quiet at night. And if you wanted to go to a mall or a cafe, you still could. And so that is how I chose my location.
Wow. Now let's talk about the challenges, right? Because it's the illusion that everything is so easy peasy, and no matter where you are establishing a business, as an
Mm.
entrepreneur, I believe that there are challenges. So, what challenges did you have to overcome at the beginning of this journey, and as you've gone about?
The challenges that I had to overcome was one, although we all look the same, or as an African American, I look like them, they can very much tell that I was a foreigner. So
Wow,
taking,
Captain
uh,
Obvious.
yes, so being able to gain their trust, that was an obstacle that I had to do. They wanted to make sure, because Kenya is still based off a word of mouth and credit system in a lot of places. So they wanted to make sure like your word is good, that you can pay on time, and that what you were doing wasn't for exploitation. It wasn't just for a single gain. They wanted to make weren't being taken advantage of, because that is a large fear with Kenyans. They fear that people will come, take their resources and spend and give nothing back. And
Oh,
so that was one obstacle. The other obstacle was the language barrier. I had to learn how to speak Swahili. And that was
wow. How,
I think, like one of the
how long
toughest
did
things
that
ever.
take? I was getting ready to say, how
Living,
long did it take?
it took
Jeez,
about,
like,
I want to say 6 months to be like fluent, 6 months. Because it
okay.
was easy to
Did you
become
feel like
fluent
you were
because
just
you're like,
forced to speak it? You're
I don't feel
forced to
like it was
speak it.
forced, but I feel
Okay.
like it gained their respect. Like they definitely appreciated my efforts. It was a lot easier for me to handle my business independently anywhere. I didn't need a third party to negotiate on my behalf or to speak for me. And because of that, I was able to build my own relationships.
I love that. So tell us about your business. What's so unique about your business?
um, the ability to purchase with a purpose. And so my entire platform is purposeful shopping and buying green. And so a lot of products are made from East African plants or East African upcycling materials. And also a percentage of every sale goes towards sending the kids at my orphanage to school. So when you buy a necklace, right, you don't only look super fly, but you also provide the resources for a kid to go to school.
Wow, buying with a purpose. Now, if I can be a little nosy, what percentage roughly do you give back, or is it everything
So
that you're
I
building?
typically towards everything that I'm building, but the strongest percentage from the clothing business is 15%. Although it's my orphanage, so I feel like I tend to give more, I tend to do more. For
Yeah.
holidays, I feel like I have created a Western standard for my employees. They get Christmas bonuses, and they have health benefits, and they get raises, and they get paid hourly. And all of these are foreign concepts. I feel like for East Africa, like they typically get paid a monthly salary. Everyone gets paid salary. My employees get paid hourly. And so definitely,
Nice. So
definitely
they're definitely motivated.
often. Yes, they are
I love that.
motivated.
So you said clothing business, which alluded me to think that there is more than one business going on here. Talk about the different streams that you have.
So I have the African clothing and accessories that is here in Tampa. I have the tour that I do twice a year. I do one in August, one in March. I also
Hmm.
have the orphanage and a library in Kenya. I have a hair salon and a barber shop, and I'm working on a taxi business.
You are a bump girl. Okay. Oh, okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. How young are you, may I ask?
I'm
Just
30.
inspiration.
I'm 30 years young.
Dirty 30. I love it. Getting to the bag. Getting to the bag. I love that. Wow. So you've really taken that seven streams of income to a whole nother level. Like literally letting it flow. And I love your garment, by the way. Like I'm over here like, do you sell that?
Thank you. I
It's
do.
beautiful.
All of these
I
pieces are
love.
from my boutique.
Which website do we go to for that? Just a little plug
Right,
in the middle here.
right. www.accentstylesboutique.com.
AccentStylesBoutique.com. Make sure you guys tune in and definitely support and definitely shop. Talk to us about advice. Give us advice. What advice would you give to someone who is trying to become an entrepreneur? And if I just delve a little deeper in that, someone who wants to return home and start a business. I've already gotten one, the language barrier. I went to Switzerland about a month and a half ago, and I tell you that language barrier makes you feel so vulnerable to not know what's happening, who's saying what's happening on your own. So I know the language barrier is going to be a big one. What advice would you give to someone who wants to return home and build a business since you've done it?
I'd say for someone that wants to return home and build a business, they should identify the need in the area that they're in and
Okay.
to make sure that the business that they are creating isn't necessarily like self-driven that we talked about or selfish, but it is definitely
Mm-hmm.
something for the community. I always like relate it to coming home for Christmas. Like if you were to come home and see your mom and dad, you wouldn't come empty-handed. You wouldn't not give back. You wouldn't not wash the dishes while you were home. And so when you come home, be prepared to give back. Be prepared to build something that will be a legacy.
I love that. Now, building, and of course, you built a business internationally. How did you go about selecting the first employees that you put on your team?
So my first employee was actually my friend, and I didn't realize that she was an actual employee at first because she was, I consider her like my girlfriend, but she was translating, she was helping me
Oh,
pick
wow.
out merchandise, um, she was helping me negotiate, and so that was the way that I hired my first employee, was built off trust and friendship. And I know people say like
Mm.
never go in business with friends, that it can be dangerous,
So hard.
but
Yes.
right? But this has really worked for me. And I think it comes from the dynamic that when we wear our work hats, we definitely wear them. There's no argumenting, there's no banter, there's no back and forth. If I require something of her, she's willing to do it. It's very much boss employee mannerism versus when
Mhm.
we're off the clock, we can inadvertently like go back to being girlfriends. And so
Gotcha. So you understand boundaries are set, boundaries are respected, right? And the business gets handled.
boundaries are definitely respected. I think when I went to branch out to my employees that I have now, though, I was in a market. And so I felt like the prices that I was getting was really, really high, mostly because I
Hmm.
was a foreigner. And also, they
Okay.
didn't have things like what I'm wearing. They didn't have the style that I want. And so I asked the woman that was working, "Is this your business or are you working for someone?" And she informed me that she was working for someone. I was like, "Well, what is your salary?" She told me her salary, and I was like, "For the first 2 months, I'll match it. And if you do well, I'll double it." And so I
Wow.
literally took her place of employment and hired her for myself. And from there, the rest has been like history. Like I didn't love what she was selling and making at the shop, but I could tell the lines were
Is it done?
clean. Yeah, like presentation was nice. The colors were vibrant. I could tell that she had a really good eye for fashion. She just needed the assistance to take it the next level higher.
I love it. So to be able to empower her, it's funny that you said that, because in my mind I was thinking I would love to see what she does in my business, and then I would double her salary. That would be so me in terms of that whole negotiation and establishing that relationship. Did you get any pushback from the person that you lured her away from? Being that it
There
was such a
wasn't
small
really much
community.
interaction. I kind of like let her handle that one. Whenever she decided to do her resignation or her leave, I let her handle that part. I was like, that part is out of my hands. Like, that part is on you. But
I love
I
talk.
think she really, pardon me?
No, I said I'm loving this. Go ahead. You said you think she really.
Thank you. I think that she really loved, because at that point I was doing the orphanage and providing education for a lot of the kids in our community. That I think she just
Hmm.
really loved that aspect, and she had been hearing about it. And so I feel like not only being double, it was a no brainer for her to be like on the humanitarian side.
Right. Oh my. So did your business require fundraising? And if so, how did you go about doing that?
So my business did not require fundraising. I
Okay.
have the gift of gab, and so while I was there, I would strictly, right, I would strictly borrow pieces. I would say, hey, I have Wi-Fi at home. I would love to do a Facebook Live and show the product and see if it sells. And so I would do it that way. There was no cost. You know, I was in my apartment. I would show the necklace, sell the necklace, ship the necklace. And so as
Mm.
people got comfortable with me paying regularly and consistently, they were like, hey, I wonder if you had 6 necklaces, if you could sell all 6. And I was like, well, I don't have the money for all 6 necklaces. And so they would basically
Mm.
like loan them to me.
On
And so
consignment.
give them on a credit system. Yeah, like, hey,
Yes.
have them for a month, pay us back next month. Let's see if you can move this product.
Now that's a dope strategy. What other strategies did you put in place to market your business? So you used Facebook, you pre-sold, and got the money. So really, it was almost like you almost did an investor's move on flipping houses. You know what I'm saying? We use somebody else's money to sell the product you're wholesaling, right? Never ever have to come out your pocket.
Exactly. That was honestly, when you said wholesale, that was the next step.
Okay.
I came back to Tampa, studied the demographic, and there was about 3 African clothing stores at the time. And so I wholesale to them. I was like, hey,
Wow.
I live in Kenya. I am your sister. I am not your competition. It is collaboration over competition. I have a really amazing product. I would love for you to purchase it in bulk. And they did it. And they did it for about 2.5, 3 years straight. And it was
Oh wow.
amazing for the both of
So what changed? Did COVID impact that? You said they did it for, so I hear a time cut off. Or did your
Some
business model
of them,
change?
unfortunately, them closed. We do have one that is still standing, and now I guess like she has like another vendor, or she isn't selling as much, or whatever the reasons are. We're still really good friends. She just isn't purchasing at wholesale right now.
Understand. How did you establish the culture within your company? Because not only does it sound like a fun place to work, you have a purpose attached to it, which can get people really passionate behind it, and they don't feel like they're working. They feel like they're in a servant place, which me, it's like one of my love languages is acts of service and being able to see someone else thrive. So how did you establish the culture that just made it so, like, without sounding cliche, wonderful to work with Anji Degante?
I think I created an environment that was conducive for me. And
Mm.
so I kind of created a place that I would love to work for. Being that I went there at 21, I have never had a corporate or full time job. My business is the
Okay.
only thing that has ever sustained me. And so, based off things that I heard from my sister or from my girlfriends or from other friends, I was like, oh, like your job sounds horrible. Those are the reasons why I would never work at that place. So, I made sure that I didn't do
It
those
sounds
things. I made
horrible.
sure that, right? I was like, I made sure that when they were supposed to start work, that they started, and when they were supposed to leave, I don't think I've ever asked them to stay late. Like when it's time for you to go, then you go. Um, And what I learned from that is like they would want to stay later. They would want to do a better job. They would want to come. There was no pressure. And so creating a place that felt like family and that prioritized people over the products that we were creating really made it a nice work environment.
Nice. So, based on that, your definition, how does Angie define success?
That's a great question. Angie defines success with feeling complete. Whatever
Mm,
completion is for you. It doesn't have to be lots of businesses. It doesn't have to be a college degree. Doesn't have to be a relationship. Like winning is what I equate success to. So winning is whatever completes you, whatever feels like a win to you. Um, it could be something very small or something very big, and small is like relative, but
yes.
whatever feels complete, that is success. Feeling whole and happy, and I think like an overall joy that you can't explain. Like going to bed and not having to set the alarm in the morning is success to me.
Oof. Amen. Amen. It's like I look at my thing like, okay, I'll get up at like 11. Okay, I'll start at 1. I mean, trust me, that right there is priceless within itself. I always tell people to think that I would have to go back to a 9 to 5 and pull up in somebody's garage and get coffee on the way and then self motivate to have to deal with people that I do not like and pretend like all is well in the land so that I don't step on any toes and make sure my hair is together so that I fit a culture. Because if I wear my hair like yours, which is exactly how it looks, only it's ash blonde, I would be sent to HR to assume that something was going on in my life and a series of distress was happening. So there's something to be said about being an entrepreneur. And I would ask you, what do you feel like those qualities are of being a good entrepreneur or going from good to great, a great entrepreneur?
Going from good to great is, I'll take my personal experience, my first year of owning my boutique. I had to really become a person that I would want to hire. And so
Mm,
I realized when I hired myself that I struggled with time management. I was always 10 to 15 minutes late every single day. Would not want that
mm,
person. And so I had to identify in my life what was making me late to work. If it's lunch or breakfast, packing it at night, right? And so
mhm,
identifying like what would make you a great employee, being a great salesperson, making sure that you're always
mm.
smiling when a person walks in, making sure that you aren't allowing your emotions to ordain your day or control your day. Um,
Don't allow
like,
us to ordain.
yes, like Tabitha Brown, like, if you're having a bad day, don't you dare go messing up nobody else's. Like,
Please,
this person,
ma'am. Please, emotional intelligence, accountability, and responsibility. Please and thank you.
yeah, it's like this is her self-care Saturday. Like this customer has come to shop. She's happy. Her nails
Hmm.
are done. She probably did her hair. Like this is the end to a great day. So if you have a bad attitude, like this is the last thing she needs. Um,
Fact.
and so like making sure like you're that model employee, like would you hire yourself? And I think like once you establish that, that takes your business from good to great. Um, Not like investing in your business from a personal standpoint. It isn't just about the profit. Um,
Mhm.
it isn't just about what it looks like on Instagram, but making sure like it is properly flowing. And I think another thing that takes your business from good to great is not consistently working in your business.
Mm.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure how your business can necessarily grow when you are stagnant in there every single day. Take the risk, hire a part-time employee, so that way you can hit the pavement. You can take better care of yourself. You can market harder. You can post more. You can breathe. Like I said, your face isn't necessarily grungy when you come to work because you're there every single day. Um,
Right.
and so yeah, I think those are the things that take your business from good to great.
I love that. And what have you enjoyed the most? If there was one thing that you really loved about being an entrepreneur and returning home, all in that, I'm bringing a mental gumbo here. So what do you enjoy the most about this journey that you're on, entrepreneurship, business ownership? What do you enjoy the most?
I honestly love like all the people that I've encountered. Um,
Mm.
I love just like the energy and the vibe and the connections that I've made.
Mm-hmm.
I also love, right? The reason why we all go in business, I also love the financial freedom. Very rarely do I have to, right? Very rarely do I have to go in the store and be like, I can't afford that, or you know what I mean? Like, so
Right,
literally
right.
being able to treat myself within reason is a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful feeling. And so I think the lives that I've changed, um, and the financial freedom, being able to change lives and have your financial freedom, the fact that I can travel for work and I can do it 6 months out of the year. And
Oof.
when I fly to Kenya, right? When I fly to Kenya, I can take a 3 day pause in Paris, or I can take a 3 day pause in Turkey. And so those
Mm-hmm.
are the things that I love. I love that my life is limitless. My income is limitless. I'm not trading dollars for hours. I'm able to increase it as hard as I work. Like I will always see a greater result. There's no such thing as I worked really hard for 10 hours and I only take 100. Um,
Oof.
I could work really hard for 10 hours and take home 1 million, or I could take home 100,000. Like those things are
Yes.
yes, unexplainable to me. Like the joy that it brings me, the freedom that it gives me, the lives that I change. Like when I see people in the market and they tell me, like, you have to come to my house, I bought a refrigerator, or you have to come to my house, I bought a car. Like that is the reason
Wow.
why I wake up every day and, create a post for Accent. Those are the reasons why. And so I love that. I love how many women, right? I could go on and on about this. I love how many women
Please.
specifically that I have impacted in Kenya. Women that are like, I no longer see myself as having to get married at 18 so that I can have
Mm.
stability. Because you've paid for my education and because I'm going to university, I can sustain myself and marry for love. Um,
That part.
those
Yes,
things,
ma'am.
yes. And so I
Mm-hmm.
even love like when I hear the women say like, because of you I want to open a business, or I want to start a business, or I want to take my business more serious. Those are the things that I love to see. Those are the things that Accent Styles Boutique provides me.
Oh my God, you're giving me so much life right now. Let me ask you this. Based on your level of success, how long did it take you to get to that place where you could breathe and success was yours?
Honestly, I feel like mine came kind of early because I didn't have
Okay.
the startup expense. And
Okay.
so uh, in Kenya, it's pretty lax. In foreign countries, like you said, you were just out of the country like a few
Mm-hmm.
weeks ago. When you are in a foreign country, everything is pretty lax anyway. You breathe easier in general, and so
Oof.
my
Amen.
entire business, right? So my entire business startup felt like a vacation. So I feel like I breathed very easy in the beginning because I didn't accrue debt.
Okay.
I was able to save and get my storefront and pay for a year up front. And so that told me like rather I make sales or don't make sales, rather this is good for me or this is bad for me. I don't have the stress of having to like uh make the lease, make the lease, make the lease, make the money to pay the lease every month. And so my breathing kind of started early on. I will say
That.
this, right? I feel like I breathe a lot lighter with my employee coming in 3 days a week. I definitely breathe easier those days. She's a really awesome employee. She allows me to vacation or to take a break without being worried. I trust that she can handle it all. And so
Wow. That sounds like a
that
partner
allows me.
more than an employee.
Yes, right? She is more
Yes.
of a partner than an employee, but she definitely allows me to breathe a lot easier. I'll say I breathe pretty easy in the beginning, but once I had a storefront, it kind of stifled the breathing
Understand.
because I'm like, yeah, I'm like, okay, I don't have to pay a lease, but I definitely have to sit in this store every single day, no matter what. And so having
Love that.
her has allowed me to breathe again.
Having that, and then like you said, you have somebody you can trust, you have somebody that can take the reins, and that's critical as an entrepreneur, man, to be able to walk away from your business and know that it will still run without you, and that it will run in the same level of service as if you were physically there. That in itself is a priceless commodity.
It is. It really, really is. And I think like I didn't even understand how priceless it was until I got to experience it. I would
Wow.
notice that I was out and I wasn't checking my phone while she was at work. Typically, if an employee is there, my phone is on the loudest ringer. So I'm like always picking up the phone, always checking the cameras at work to assure like, are they at the desk? Are they working? Are customers
Yes.
there? But she really lets me breathe easy. And it's to the place where my customers ask for her. And I'm like,
Oh.
whoa. Like
That's perfectly fine by you. The check still turns in,
that,
it cashes.
right? Honestly, I'm like, it's perfectly fine with me.
So to catch us up, tell us, what is it that you're working on now, and how can we stay connected to all things Angie and the progression of
So what I'm,
Africa?
yeah, so the thing that I'm really working on is building a larger library and creating the resources that are stronger. Right now, we have about 10 computers that we're installing into a facility with Wi Fi and some books that have been donated by the Hillsborough County school libraries, but also from USF, the university. And so, building that library and having free resources and free Wi Fi for the community is the thing that I am focused on most right now. And a
Okay.
way that you guys can stay connected is strictly like logging onto the site, Accent Styles Boutique, and finding out ways that you can, if not donate sanitary napkins or books, or there's even a spot where you can donate haircuts. If you can't donate monetarily, maybe you can donate your time with an English session or a math session or just a way to take their education to the next level.
I love that. And it's so amazing. I hear so many people returning home, but then I hear the culture of, in talking to a gentleman from Ghana, that so many young people leave and they go and figure themselves out. And so there's this massive age gap taking place. And for you to have been on this journey since you were 21 and now 30, you've been at this for 9 years, impacting life, bringing about change, and really just finding your way and executing, which is critical to the journey of success as an entrepreneur. Execution, as Eric, the hip hop preacher, would say, is worship. So I salute you for all that you've done, for your focus,
Thank
for your passion
you.
to educate. For those that want to return to Africa, I know you do it twice a year. How do they get engaged in that?
Uh, it's the website as well. Like you can
Okay.
go to the website and mention in the contact section, I'd like more information about the tour. I would
Okay.
like to forewarn anyone that is interested. This is definitely a returning home. It isn't like some of the tours that you see where you'll be on a rooftop and just drinking wine in your every night dress. This is actually
Right.
returning home. You will see
Okay.
villages, you will do safaris, um, you will practice like the language, that proper hello and goodbye and a thank you. I think those are extremely important when you enter a country to be able to say hi, bye, and thank you. Um,
Yeah.
so it isn't going to be one of those things where we're just like crop topping it out and drinking all night. Um, you
Yes.
definitely will see the orphanage. You definitely will, go to like some of the local spots and support Kenyan owned businesses. And so this is a tour to really come home. You also have the opportunity to meet with real estate agents in case you decide you want to purchase or you decide like me you don't want to come back. She will help you find an apartment within your budget, and so that way
Wow.
you can immerse comfortably, and without being taken advantage of. Like you set your budget, you find a place, and so we make it as comfortable as possible. I
I
will say
love.
you were, I'm sorry.
No, I said I'm in love. I'm loving it.
Oh, thank you. It broke up for a moment. You
It's okay.
mentioned how there was a bit of like an age gap with the people that were like leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have experienced that. There's a village called Kalawa, and so there is a Kumba village. They speak Kumba, and so a lot of the girls, not just that specific village, but all over, will go to the big city, which is Nairobi. They decide they
Okay.
don't want to speak Swahili or they don't want to speak their tribal language. They only want to speak English. And so
Wow.
right now we're working on a dictionary in case those women mature and they decide later in life, I do want to speak my local language. I do want to pass on my tribal to my children. It's important to me. And so we're working on that, and we're working on helping Africans remain African. And I know that can be strange. Like, why would Africans need to be African? They're in Africa. And it's because they have so much Western influence. And typically, when we
Mm-hmm.
have people that come over to donate, they donate Old Navy sweaters or they donate American pastas. And just like adults, when we have a great restaurant, we start to crave it. And so those kids
Yes.
no longer crave African foods. And so we teach donors how to properly donate, how to properly give back. If they'd like to buy food, we say like buy it locally. And
Okay.
so that's where that age gap is coming from. I think like the Western influence. They have Wi-Fi. They
Yes.
get to see. Are we allowed to say TV shows, names of TV shows, or
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
okay, so I'm like,
Yes.
they have Wi-Fi, and so I didn't know how careful I needed to be. So they
Oh
have
no, you're
Wi-Fi, and
fine.
they're able to see like love and hip hop, and now they have this term. They want to leave the
Uh,
village and they want to become slay queens. That is the term, slay queens. And so
and
you
it's
can
really
see
not real.
right, it's not. And so you see the regression, right? You see them like stepping
Mm-hmm.
back from that they are. And then you,
Mm-hmm.
for a good amount of time, you see them, they want to go abroad, they want to go to the UK in different countries. And then sometimes they decide they're not coming back home. But then over time, right, you have people that wisen up, they decide to bring their resources back. And so that is where that age gap is coming from. Queens go abroad, they go to the UK, they go to London, and then something awakes
Right.
in them maybe when they're 40 or 45. They're like,
Mm.
hey,
And they
I
want to
want to
come
go
home.
back home. Yes, I want to go
Yes.
home. I want to get my resources. I want to build my house. I want to speak my tribal language. I want to speak
Mm-hmm.
Swahili. And so um, the best thing about home is that you can always come back. It's always waiting for you. And Africa with open arms, no matter how long they stay away, is always waiting for them. And the work that they do when they come back is absolutely amazing.
Well, I feel so enlightened. I feel spirit so heavy, and to be celestial and understand energy. This has definitely been an amazing exchange. And I think it's so timing because, again, the conversations have been had and all this alignment with Africa. And of course, being able to see how progressive, I think the word you said is we are definitely progressive. And everything isn't sticks and stones and kids running around barefoot, right? Things like you said are
Ah!
progressive, things are moving, right? It's the illusion thereof. That's what people think of, and it's so sad because oftentimes it's the image that has been projected to the world that is so not true. And you give it such life, and I'm so grateful for what you've done and for being a millennial and for being a shapeshifter. I salute you for that, and I look forward to connecting with you. And I'll make sure our audience continues to stay connected as well.
Thank you. Definitely,
You're
definitely.
welcome.
I have
You're
enjoyed
welcome.
this so much as well, defying like the stereotypes and the things that people
Hmm.
can sort of consider African norms, like you said, like the sticks and stones. And so that has been
Hmm.
amazing. So please, for people that are tuning in, come home. If you feel like the thing that is holding you back are your Western luxuries, they are there as well. I don't think they're necessarily something that you should look for when you get there. Hennessy does not belong
Right.
in Africa, but if you need that, it's there. I'm like, if you need Hennessy in the
Amen.
rooftops, or if you need
It's
the
there.
Starbucks in the morning, it's there. It's there. Domino's is there.
I love
KFC
it.
is there. If you need those things,
Okay.
they are there.
Is Popeyes there? No. I'm weak.
Popeyes is not there. There's no Popeyes, no
Okay.
McDonald's, but they do have a soul food kitchen. and they do
Okay.
have tacos. They
Wow.
have Taco Tuesday, and they have brunch on
Okay.
Sunday. Endless bottomless
Oh,
mimosas. They have it.
oh, so Western, so Western, so Atlanta, so East Coast.
Yes, yes. I'm always jokingly saying like Kenya is the Florida of Africa because their borders never close.
I
I'm
love.
like, they have no rules. Like, like all of
I
this, people are
love.
like, can you still travel to Kenya? And I'm like, can you still come to Florida? Like,
Right.
so,
Facts. 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 Absolute facts.
so
Well,
yes.
Angie, it has been an absolute pleasure. We look forward to having you back. I'm definitely going to be nosy and follow your progression and see what else you are doing as you continue to be impactful. And I definitely look forward to swapping stories because this year I have Ghana and South Africa to go to, preferably that when all these restrictions lift. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So anything you need from our family to yours, we salute you, we thank you, and of course, thank you for sharing your story here on She Speaks TV.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Listen, guys, as always, tune in every Monday night, and we will definitely see you at the top because the bottom is just too crowded. And if you thought that Africa wasn't progressing, you are sadly mistaken. Get informed, get educated, get plugged in. Mwah. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah.